All right. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Ridley College's Parent-to-Parent webinar. We're truly thrilled that you have the opportunity to join us today, and I am so grateful for our Ridley parents who are joining us on this call. So I'll start by saying good day. However, I know that many of our parents on the call today and those joining us are in various time zones. So good morning from Ridley College, and then, of course, good afternoon and good evening for many of you. But we really are delighted that you have chosen to join us. I will let you know that this session is being recorded. So if, in fact, afterwards you decide you want to rewatch it, we'll be sending out to all of our participants who have registered, and or if you also want to share the link, but it will be available for you. So thank you again. So let me start by welcoming you. I do know several family names on the call, but I will just say, for those who haven't met me, my name is Julie Cameron. I'm the Director of Enrollment Management and Admissions here at Ridley College. I have been in this role since about 2011. And I can tell you it is an absolute honor to lead the admissions team. They are an incredible group of professionals. I think many of you would have worked with them directly or perhaps met them when they visited you, as we do travel around the globe. Last year, I think we visited 22 countries in total. So very large team, very global. And when we look for those families on the call whose child has been selected to enter Ridley, first of all, I want to say congratulations. That is not easy to get into many of our grades now. So certainly your child has met our academic landscape, and so that's a very big part of who we look to bring to our school. But it is not only about academics. We certainly look to shape the culture of the Ridley community. So when we meet with your children, we're looking at them for what can they bring to the school, but also vice versa, what can we deliver for them? How do we shape them? How do we help them grow? And so I really think that the best people to help inform you on that topic is certainly some of our parents, because when our parents join Ridley, they do join the school as well. They are part of a greater community that is here. And so it is an honor. We just have amazing parents here at the school. So today, what I will tell you is we do have parents. We have parents that represent international boarding, domestic boarding. We have a parent on the call as well who represents our day families. And so we're here to answer all of your questions. I will let you know that there is a Q&A that you can populate any questions that you might have. Our plan is to go through a series of questions and prompts that we think most parents would like to know. And then at the end, if there are additional questions, we're very happy to take them. So please know you are more than welcome to input anything that is there, and the panelists will do their best to address that. So before we go any further, I now would like to hand over, and we're going to introduce our panel for today. And so first of all, I'd like to introduce you to Kiran Chandarami Perkins. She is the mother of two boys with us. And so Gabe, who has been with us since grade 9, he's now in grade 11. And then his younger brother joined us for grade 9 this year. Just absolutely lovely boys. And so they are, Mrs. Perkins is joining us from St. Kitts this morning. And so then I will hand things over. Also joining the panel is Mr. Augustin Gomez. He is the father of another lovely young woman, Sofia Barras Gomez. She's currently in grade 9, resides in Mexico, and also has American status here at the school. And then finally, joining us extremely early this morning, we have Mrs. Palmer, who's joining us from the West Coast. She has twin girls here at the school. And so Abigail and Margaret Palmer, both in grade 12, and they hold Canadian and American status here at the school. And then finally, the last person on today's panel, you may recognize Mrs. Laura Oeda. Before Laura actually joined the admissions team, she was a parent here of two beautiful children in our lower school, Sophia in grade 4, Mateo in grade 2. And so we've asked Laura to jump on the panel today, also representing day interest. She was a parent first, and then we, of course, got to know her very well, saw her many talents, completely fluent in Spanish. And so we said, we'd love to have you on the admissions team. It's been a great support for many of our families. So welcome to the panelists. And again, thank you so much for joining us this morning. So now at this time is we're going to get started with our questions. And our first question I'm going to be directing to Mr. Gomez. Augustine, what influenced your decision to enroll Sophia at Ridley? Maybe you could talk about that for a minute.
Yeah, so I actually went to three different boarding schools in Canada, the US, and Switzerland. So I was aware of the boarding school ecosystem. And but I have a friend in Mexico City, a Canadian friend, Nadine Karachi, and she I've known her for many years, and she's always been Ridley's greatest cheerleader. To the point where it got to be where like I would ask why. But at a certain point when we reached that stage in which we were considering different boarding schools, uh, what ended up actually tipping the scale was that Nadine had this amazing party where, her 55th birthday party, and she invited a whole bunch of people, and there was a group of maybe 20 women from Ridley from her class. And it was astonishing for me to see the way that first of all, just the amazing people that they had become, and secondly, the fact that they were still friends after so many years, and traveling to Mexico City and all these different things. And so that was what ended up tipping the scale. So finally, we decided to visit, and we found that the facilities were in line with our expectations, and the quality of the program was what we were looking for, and that's basically what got us thinking about Ridley.
Amazing. Thank you. I remember that story. And I do. Mrs. Karachi is absolutely incredible, long legacy here at the school from family members. And so, yeah, I'm really glad you had that connection. I think word of mouth marketing is certainly massive for Ridley. And often when we have the first child, the second child does follow. It can be a different school for that child, but thank you. That is a common occurrence. Kieran, my next question is for you, if that's okay. Um, how does the school prioritize and facilitate academic supports for our students here at the school?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Before I start, I wanted to add to Augustine, because actually being a graduate of another boarding school myself from 20 plus years ago, and to preface answering this question, I would like to say that I appreciate the warmth and the friendliness and how accommodating the faculty at Ridley are. My family and I had also actually taught 5 boarding schools before we decided on Ridley. And the faculty definitely stands out. Everyone is so warm, welcoming, and you really do feel part of a Ridley family very quickly. So I would say that when it comes to prioritizing academic support, starting with your boarding house, that your head of house and assistant head of house are all extremely supportive. They're pretty much become your children's second parents, home away from home. They offer emotional support as well as academic support. The teachers offer tutorials. They also sometimes offer evening classes as well. You can organize to have access to them in the evening. And then your child also has their guidance counselor and their advisor. So, I mean, all in all, there's a very holistic, well-rounded approach to academic support and any other support that your child would need while they're away from school.
Thanks, Karen. That's awesome. Um, Augustine, if I could come back to you, what kind of supervision and support do students receive outside of the traditional academic hours? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that and Sophia's experience.
But I think that actually everything that Kieran says applies in this context as well. There's really, I mean, in life, there's really no distinction between what we need to do with respect to our own academic development and then our personal development in terms of getting support. So that support is certainly there. Um, there's a phrase in boarding school speak, which is in loco parentis, no, in the place of the parents. And Ridley certainly takes that very seriously. I think that the school is very much aware of its responsibility. I found you know, these days when you have like things like orthodontist appointments, I mean, Sophia has had to be, going to the orthodontist during her entire stay at Ridley, and all of that has been very, very well and seamlessly integrated into her schedule, which I very much appreciated. Um, the going back and forth to Pearson and to the airport first and then getting here going to wherever she's going, whether that be Mexico City, Houston, Monterey, whatever. That follow up on behalf of the Ridley team has been seamless as well, and I've never felt that there's been any gap with respect to that. It's very much appreciated, as is the fact that there's a lot of emotional support from the school staff, from the head of house, from just the entire ecosystem, and I haven't seen any gaps, which as a parent, obviously that's what you're looking for.
Thank you, Augustine. I think that we truly believe that you give us your greatest treasure, and so it is our duty. Our school motto, "May we be consumed in service," and that is the bar by which we hope that our faculty and staff are adhering to, because your child is our child, and so we help shape their future. It's a very important piece and value that we hold dearly here. Okay, Karen, if I could come back to you, what way do you think that our co-curricular offerings, and they are extensive here. I always say there's almost too many. You can't do it all. I think they'd love to as kids, but to what extent do you think that has benefited the boys?
So I would definitely say that what Ridley offers in terms of clubs and sports. I mean, my boys were also coming from a very small island where they were limited. So to have these new opportunities was really, really important, because at the end of the day, that's what you want for your child: the experience, the memories, and the benefits those bring, the team building, the character building, team spirit, and the leadership qualities that you want your child to develop when they're in boarding school. The independence, the discipline that they learned, and being able to structure their current lives and eventually their future lives, so that they can, be a success. And I think Ridley really offers that. I think it was Mr. Kidd, when we first met him, when we toured, this always stuck with me. He said, your boys would arrive as boys, but they're going to leave as men. And I think that says it all, because I have seen Gabriel from grade 9 to grade 11 truly blossom. Jonah already in his he started in September. I've already seen such a change in his style, his personality, and who he's becoming. And that also is the benefit of having co-curricular, is that these young men and young ladies are going to find themselves and be able to blossom and nurture their character and personality.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. They're excellent points. They certainly, I think our students here grow in capacity in so many ways: leadership, academically. They do flourish. It is a big part of who we are as a school. Sometimes it's hard to always articulate that too. You have to feel it. And I think when you're part of the Ridley community, and you see your children, as you say, I've certainly seen the boys that they're in Dean's House, and I do duty there. And they have really grown, and they really are. They're charming. They're lovely, lovely boys. Excellent. Augustine, I'm going to come back to you if that is okay with my next question. What aspects of the boarding experience at Ridley have proven to be most valuable for Sophia, do you think?
I think the number one, sorry, Kieran, I was reminded, just if I may return to what she said with respect to I went to Phillips Exeter Academy, and there was a sign above the door that said, "Here come boys to become men." And I think that provides the right context for my answer to this, because in the case of Sophia, one of the key one of the biggest reasons I decided that we decided as a family to that it was time for her to go to boarding school, because it's that sort of thing. I mean, is your child ready for boarding school? Is that going to be part of their development, or are they not? And that's sort of the first question that you need to answer as a family, as a group, whatever. And so in the case of Sophia, what we were realizing at the time, we were in Houston and at a day school, great little school, Montessori school. But what I ended up seeing was that she was doing, like, we were giving her follow-up to do things. And I'm an only child. She's an only child. I'm not into this whole sort of parenting as little children and then speaking down to them and you have to do this and giving them follow up. Either they're going to do it or they're not. It's very much their life. You have to provide the context, the tools, the resources, and the example. But the rest is them, and you can't live their life for them. And what I was realizing was that Sophia was learning some things because we were insisting on sort of, drilling down on these basic aspects of responsibility, time management, and all these different things. And so I was like, that's not it. This is not, this is not fun for me. This is not, this is not how I like to spend my time. I certainly, I'm there for my child, but they have to learn it for themselves. They have to understand that it's not, the point is that they shouldn't be doing it for you. They should be doing it for themselves. And until they go to a place in which the consequences are 100% on them, I think they don't really get it, right? And so I think that the number one thing for us was the fact that that independence, that level of independence at 14, 15, for me, that was really, really important. And it certainly worked out that way. She's been getting excellent grades. She's found her space. She's learned that she's doing it for herself. She's certainly not doing it for us anymore. So that was key for me.
Thank you. That is a great answer. Mrs. Palmer, Jennifer, if I can go to you now, I've got a couple questions for you, if that's all right.
Sure.
So maybe you can talk a little bit. I mean, obviously we have school and, through the school week, but then we have a lot that goes on here. This is a busy environment on the weekends. The school, I like to say, rarely sleeps. That we do insist they sleep, but there is just always something going on in a place like this. Maybe you could talk a little bit about what kind of weekend programming does Ridley offer to our boarding students and also our upper school day students as well. They're integrated into our houses. So they are certainly invited to be part of weekends here too. Maybe you could chat a little bit about that from the girls' perspective.
Sure, absolutely. I wanted to give just a few minutes or a few seconds background on myself. I grew up in California. It is very rare in Northern California, outside San Francisco, to go to boarding school. I don't know anyone here on the West Coast who had or does. It's getting to be more popular after COVID and the pandemic. My husband is an alum of Ridley. He went actually just for 1 year. He grew up in Toronto. And I think I told him when our girls were young, our kids will never go to boarding school. We have great schools here. We didn't need to. One of our twin girls in high school asked her dad to look into going to Ridley, and he said, well, sure, let's check it out. The other twin was very happy at her school here and was not going to leave. And so we asked her to look at it to make sure she would not miss out on the opportunity. And she did from the moment she walked onto campus at the tour and saw the sign that said welcome with their personal names on it. She said, I want to go to Ridley for all the right reasons. And so when we did drop them off, they've been there just 2 years. I know now that they wish they had been there all of their high school years. And when I did drop them off, I think I cried for a month, 2 months. I do remember Mr. Kidd and the entire administrative staff. There's one thing I'll never forget. They said, not only will we teach your kids here, but we will also take care of them and love them. And And that made me feel so much better. And I always remember that when I miss them or wish they were here back home with me. And we have them rate all their time at Ridley. We always say, so what is it on a 1 to 10? And it's been 10 since the first month they were there 2 years ago. They are both leaving in last 50 something days. I think the countdown is to graduate. And I can say as well as Augustine and Karen that they are so prepared to go to university because of the independence and everything they have learned, the whole holistic view. So programming, there is downtime to relax at Ridley, but I must say the kids can never truly be bored. My girls get excited when they can actually sleep in on a given Saturday, and they do sometimes. There's both mandatory programming on the weekends and optional. Any scheduled and mandatory on Saturdays is what's called Saturday programming, and it either happens in the classroom or assembly style or outdoors. Some examples include guest speakers on a given educational topic. I know they've learned how 2 years now how to learn a bit to build a robotic hand in team groups, which was very exciting. They do cooking lessons with a chef. There's TED Talks on art and portrait drawings. They have their cadet corps practices on the weekends throughout the year. And their different houses hold their charity events, including walks and fundraisers, as well as the community service activities that they each do in their houses or in the service projects that they join. They do on the weekends. There are house competitions in a variety of athletic and academic pursuits. And again, the day students do partake in all of that on the weekends as well. And they, like you said, Julie, they are incorporated into the houses. I know my girls from the day they were there met day students, and they are friends with them, and they're with them in the houses even on the weekends. On Friday, Saturday, and Sunday evenings, the houses host a lot of the events. There's dessert nights, snack nights, every kind of food you can imagine night. There's barbecues, roasting marshmallows on the fire pits, movie nights. And these are sometimes centered around holidays or different events. For example, Halloween pumpkin carving, watching the American NFL football, the Super Bowl is a big one. And also the houses a few times a year they do leave campus on buses to go to the water slides, holiday dinners, and more. The optional activities really did such a great job. Actually, both years that we've been there, but especially this year, the kids have signed up and they can attend everything from a fashion show in Toronto, museum visits, local baseball games, shopping excursions. I think there was salsa dancing lessons, movies. So there's multiple options. If they are playing sports, and also if they're in the arts like music and theater, they also do sometimes have practices and games on the weekends. So again, they're very happy to sleep in on Sunday mornings. And I hope I answered enough of that for the day students. So.
Thank you, Jennifer. No, I think it was a great answer. I often say to our boarding parents, when your child comes to Ridley and they come home to you, whether like we actually close twice a year, so the Christmas break and March break. And when your child comes home, if they're not maybe going on a service learning trip, they are tired. And I say to parents, let them sleep, let them come home, let them sleep, let them recoup. And then they'll be back at it again. But know that as I say, we build capacity. They are so busy and engaged here. Our parents don't pay our fees to have their child hang out at the local mall. That is not who we are as a school. They are kept busy with a lot of options. So that was a great answer. Thank you, Jennifer. That's awesome. So let's talk a little bit about, you're away from your kids and sometimes they get sick, sometimes they get a cold, sometimes, something can happen. Maybe I can ask you, Jennifer, how would Ridley handle that for the child if they become ill or they need medical attention and or also mental health supports here at the school? Maybe you could talk a little bit about that.
Sure. We were very nervous. One of our girls has a severe nut allergy and ends up in the hospital. overnight visits if it happens. So we were really nervous, and we have found that the health center is very reliable and supportive. My kids were, both of them, for some reason or another, in the health center a lot last year, for mostly for sports injuries, but some other things as well, colds and allergies and flus. Let's see, one of them actually broke her jaw in a soccer game, a Ridley soccer game, and had to be taken later in the evening to emergency center. And I know Nurse Robert was there with her every step of the way. He spent 5 hours in the middle of the night escorting her to the emergency room, keeping us updated the entire time. He then later in the week took her to a specialist. He found the doctor, arranged everything for us, and kept us and communicated the entire way. Let's see what else I thought of. The entire center helped me get reimbursed for the expenses. They're just with you every step of the way. I have another, vaccinations. They take care of all the vaccinations if that's what you want for your child. Set them up, set up the days, get them done. Colds, allergies, flus, yes, they all get them, living together in the dorms, especially. And the health center is really good, though. They don't readily hand out medication if they don't need to. And you do have set up protocol as a parent when you start at Ridley about what you want them to have and what you don't. But they do give it out if they need to. We also had another scalp injury in the middle of the night, running into something. And so they're there 24/7. They're open all the time. As well, you can pick up the phone and call them, email or call them, and they answer really quickly, all the nurses on staff. Mental health, it's really easy to contact anyone really about mental health, and starting with the health center. But there is a form you can fill out online, a confidential form, if you'd like to send your student to see someone or talk to someone. I know we did do that a few times, and they can find the right staff member to talk to your child or listen if that's what you want. So hopefully that answered your question. Yes.
No, you did. I think that's a great answer. I think maybe for our parents on the call, just for proximity, I would let you know. So we do have our health center here, staffed 7 days a week, 24 hours a day, with our nurse and nurse practitioners. We also have doctors on staff that come in. We'll see your child if there's a diagnostic that needs to be done. And it's all in-house. So we're not sending them somewhere for that. But in the event that it was a medical emergency, and they do happen, and we know that can happen, what Jennifer described is if your child goes to the local hospital 5 minutes away, they are accompanied by one of our nurses at all times. They are not sent there. They are not left there. That is our role and responsibility. So, this is one of the benefits of a big boarding school, is that all of these things exist in-house. As far as, mental health as well, we're a visible well-being school. And so that is very important to us. So we do have social emotional counselors on staff for all of the respective grades and divisions here at the school. And so again, it is looking after the holistic child. That is so important to what we do here. And, they're young, right? They go through many things. They grow through many things. And so we're here to help support that, this safety net, if you will, that is there to be part of their growth and their well-being. I just wanted to touch base also just briefly. We talked a little bit about long weekends and school closing. So Ridley is a little bit unique in that we do not close on what we refer to as long weekends. Many boarding schools across North America, Europe, they do close on those weekends, and parents will have to fly in, make adjustments. Their child might have to go to guardians and so forth. So Ridley remains open. The option to stay on campus is here. We do want you to know that. And the only time we actually close is over the Christmas break and over March break. And so that's twice throughout the calendar year. But even on those long weekends that the child doesn't want to stay on campus, know that there are Ridley-led trips by faculty and staff members. Places like New York City, maybe they're going to Mont Tremblant to ski. On the March break, we do many service learning opportunity trips. So we just had a group come back from Guatemala. We just doing service there. We had a group coming back from the Jacaranda School in Malawi, all led by Ridley faculty and staff. And so again, many options for these kids. You're always in communication with your child's head of house regarding any leaves or departures or things like that. It wouldn't be okay for Ridley to hear from a grade 10 student, oh, I'm going to my friends in Toronto for the weekend. We need to hear from you as the parent and verifying all of that information to ensure where the child is going and that all of that has been, validated and forms filled out and so forth. So, but they are your child. You are welcome to visit them. Some parents ask that too, can I only come on certain visit days? And they are your child. So please know you'd be in contact with our heads of house and talking about that and making those arrangements. We might say, well, they do have, a test this day. Could you come at this time? Those sorts of things. But that'll be, jointly discussed and decided. So, okay, the next question. Jennifer, I'm gonna ask you this probably from an upper school perspective, and then I'm going to go over to Mrs. O'Wade on the lower school. So let's chat about who guides and supports the students navigating between academic demands, social interactions, and co-curricular. Can you talk about that role here at Ridley, how it's related to the girls?
Sure. We really found that everyone on Ridley staff worked together as a team when needed, and always behind the scenes to making sure that your child is is having a positive experience in all those areas of their life. For upper school, they are teenagers, so there's, as we all know, a lot of emotional ups and downs, like you said, Julie. And they do need guidance on conflict resolution with roommates, boyfriends, girlfriends, friendships. So it all happens. But really the head of the house, I have found to be the main point person in their life. And they truly do become their mom or dad. I feel they become family. They also meet with I call them their well-being advisor. I think the title is just advisor, but they do meet weekly, once or twice a week, with their advisor who is assigned per which house they're in. And they meet in teams, in very small groups. And so it's really nice. They get to be with their peers in the small groups and their advisor to just talk about, a lot of times they just talk about what they want to talk about that day per kid. And sometimes I think their peers help them navigate how they're feeling, but also their advisor then will send reports to you, sometimes every month if you want it as a parent, or definitely quarterly, and let you know how your child is navigating through academics, the types of grades. They talk to them, about how they're doing in school, what they need help with, their time management. But the head of house always knows where your child is, because they have to, obviously for safety reasons. And sometimes the teenagers don't exactly like that all the time, especially when they get to be 16, 17, 18. But they don't like their parents managing where they are either. So that's always fun. And it's nice that there's someone else making sure your teenager's being checked into bed every night. It's secure. And I never have to worry about knowing where they are, because I know their head of house is. In terms of, I call it a 4-prong team. The head of house, their advisor, and obviously Mr. Postma, who's the assistant headmaster. You can go to campus a few times a year and he will know everything about your child. So I feel like the administration also knows what's going on with every individual child. But it's the teachers as well. We actually had a few times where a teacher noticed something was going on with one of our girls in a relationship, and they actually, without even having to come to us, talk to the head of house, talk to their advisor, talk to administration team, and figured out how it was all going to work out without even having to let us know. So any sort of conflict, as well as positive results as well, you will receive notices from teachers and advisors. They're called condemnations, is that what the word for them? About something your child has done really well, either in their house, in service, or in class. So you'll receive those. So I really do feel like it's a team effort.
That's great. Thank you for describing that, Jennifer. Laura, would you add anything related to our day, the supports for our day students in lower school in your circumstance?
Yeah, absolutely. In lower school, really, again, it's a team effort, whether they're a day student or in the case of grade 6, being a boarder, which is where our boarders start. They really have great support from the teachers, from learning specialists who are there to support in little groups, just children who need a little bit of extra help in a certain subject, or even navigating friendships at that stage for little ones, and relationships, and just being aware of their space, and leaving that space for other kids, knowing when social cues, right? They have great support from our assistant head in lower school, Mrs. Dumont, which is our true gem down there, as well as our visible well-being director, who's always helping the kids navigate all of those very difficult friendships and boundaries at that stage. So much like Jennifer said, it's a team effort between the teachers, our learning strategies, our assistant head of lower school, and it goes on for middle school as well. The support is very personalized, so it seems daunting as a big school, but it's very personalized and individualized, and each child's attended to in a proactive way with advisors and regular check-ins to make sure that we are targeting those issues before they become an issue, when we're trying to be proactive with it. So yeah, I think that sums it up.
Thank you, Laura. Yeah, it's amazing. Our youngest learners in our junior kindergarten, they arrive every morning and they are met either coming off the bus or they're met coming out of their parents' car by our headmaster, by our director of visible well-being, our head of lower school. We really believe in being there for those from the youngest and up, and just having those moments to engage with them. And to Laura's point, sometimes there's some big emotions and some big feelings.
Some big
and that's
feelings,
okay.
big
We're there to, to help them navigate that, right? And so, just from the earliest stage, these are the skills that we look to help them, develop and become competent with. But it's a special place for sure. Now, Augustine, if I could come back to you, maybe you could chat a little bit about how does Ridley prepare students for higher education or future career paths? What do you see that we do well in facilitating that?
So there are processes that are natural to the age of the children that happen because they are going through changes, because they are getting ready for, they're becoming more and more adults. Adolescence, as you know, starts from to adolesce, which means to miss something, and basically what they're missing is maturity. And insofar as children have an opportunity to to be in an environment in which, they're supported, but at the same time, again, their decisions are very much their own, and the repercussions of their decisions are very much on them. And they can decide, what activities to sign up for, and experiment, whether what they thought was a passion was really just a flight of fancy, right? Which is great. I mean, I'm a huge believer in that. And so I think insofar as Ridley provides a large number of experiences in that context, that the children could be privy to, then that is a fairly ample tool shed with respect to preparing kids for later life. I went to some of the most stressful places in the world in terms of boarding school, and I'm a believer that actually we need to tone it down just a tiny bit. Kids, one of the things that I actually appreciated from Ridley is the fact that Sophia was able to, obviously with my supervision out of the whole thing, but she was able to go to the Walmart, with her friends and get an Uber and, and get Starbucks and all of these different things. I mean, that's fundamental. From my perspective, that's fundamental. There's about 20 or 30% of the things that I did under a high pressure environment at some of the most demanding schools in the world that I'd really rather have not have done, to be honest. And so insofar as they can start seeing, that they are able to it's great. I mean, let's also bring in the other aspect of Ridley. It's in Canada, right? And so, there's a natural friendliness. Yes, I know it's cliche, but it's true. I think that there's a natural friendliness to Canada. The fact that that it's a very safe environment to be in. St. Catharines is small, but it's not tiny. The Niagara region is small, but there's a lot of there's tourism, there's things to see. It's large. It benefits from being near a large city like Toronto, because that trust me, when you go to school in Switzerland, it's nice to have a large North American city that you can fly in and out of, instead of having to go to a Zurich or a Geneva and then having to take a train and then all these different things. Those are all benefits of the location of the school. And so insofar as the kids are in that environment, well, they can also enjoy the freedom that comes with being in a place that's just generally safe. And I think that that's a very important aspect to their development. And then, of course, I mean, the academics, right? I mean, that's the basic stuff. I think everybody sort of doubles down on that. Certainly, it's there. It's there, and it's powerful, and it's high quality, and all these different things. So, yeah, I think that all of those aspects are key in their development, and as they venture forth towards university or college.
Thank you so much. That amazing conversation around developing a child's life skills and experiences. Thank you. That's an amazing answer. Karen, if I could come back to you just for a little bit. Maybe we could talk about what opportunities that Ridley provides for students around volunteering. We touched on it just a little bit. Also, perhaps leadership roles, and then these are the life skills that they develop. So maybe beyond the academics, you could chat a little bit about how that gets built, or what's in front of a child for them to be able to experience and go through.
Sure. So I think Jennifer would have touched on a few as well in terms of volunteering, the community hours, Saturday programming that lends itself to also supporting the community. Certain classes as well, like civics that involved, that touch on community involvement, volunteer, the match break service trips, which have resumed since, I guess, because Gabriel started during COVID, it didn't exist, and now it's reinstated. So your children having the opportunity to travel to different parts of the world and provide service to communities that need it. And then also house activities. So I know for Dean's House, motion ball is part of the charity work as well. And then each house they have their charity events, which also support their communities as well. And then leadership roles. So there's house captains, the grade reps as well in each boarding house. captain of teams, the cadets program, which both my boys have participated in. All it's again, I want to say Ridley always offers it's a holistic approach when you look at it compared to many other programs. And from academics to sports to clubs to volunteer, it all helps, nurture your child to become a better human.
Thank you so much, which we all want for all our children as they grow up. And yeah, I think that is fundamental in what they get and how they transition into university and adulthood, for sure. They're skills that do resonate and do continue. Augustine, if I could just come back to you for a moment and talk just maybe briefly a little bit about how does Ridley create for our boarders a home away from home environment? What do you think it is? I don't know. I don't want to call it a secret sauce, but what do you think it is that makes the children feel as they enter here, leaving home, which is, it's a big, big thing, and then coming here? How do you think Ridley projects that and provides that for the students?
Well, I mean, you kind of have to divide it up into several pieces, right? So first, there's the physical environment, the fact that it is a defined campus on a very specific space, the fact that the facilities are structured in a way that, I guess it's a fairly large school in a Canadian context. It's not really that big though, if you think about it. I mean, I've been to big schools and it's okay. I mean, I wouldn't actually highlight that as a big deal. I think it's a very manageable size. I think, the houses are literally, they look like houses, right? They look like Victorian houses, right? But they're houses and they're recognizable as such. And the entry is direct. It's on the ground floor, and it comes from the little quad, and it's a homey kind of thing, right? So it's a contained physical space with facilities in which they can have like all of the aspects of day-to-day life available to them, and they can handle that. And I think that's very important. The house, the staff that's there for them is obviously key. They're there, and I wouldn't go so far as that their place is as parents, because at least with respect to me, I don't think that that's really their place. The parents are the parents, no matter how far you are, and that's the bottom line. That they are responsible for the children, absolutely. That they have to be there as emotional support for the children, absolutely. That they have to be there, or that they should be there in an ideal world as academic support and life learning and all these different things, absolutely. And of course, that's a key aspect of that relationship, and Ridley has the staff for it. Things as simple as having the common room in the houses, and having, a little space for them to eat their snacks and to, whatever, have their little teas and whatnot is fantastic, because yes, it's not just home, it's also their home, right? And they can have a sense of ownership, whereas perhaps in their actual home, with the parents, it's always going to be, yeah, it's their house, but it's always going to be their parents' house, right? And here they have their little space, and they can do stuff. And then the final aspect, I think, and this has been very, very important for Sophia, is the friendships. And it was and it goes back to my original answer with respect to why Ridley. When I saw Nadine's friendships that had lasted for whatever 30 some years, 40 years actually. In this case, I can see it blossoming in Sophia's world as well. Her roommate, she has like a group of 3 best friends, including one from Saudi Arabia, which is amazing. And that's it doesn't speak directly to the home aspect of it, but it certainly speaks to the importance of the experience for her in her life. This is the first time, literally, I mean, she's been to, God knows, like how many schools has she been? She's in like 4 or 5 schools. And this is the first time that she's really found friends who are true, soulmate kind of friends, right? Really, in fact, actually, I would put that, right at the top of her experience at Ridley, the quality of her friends. As you know, I mean, just as important as all the stuff that we've been, kids basically just are trying to find a way to belong, right? And belong is the sort of the leitmotif of the, there's an official belong sort of admonition on behalf of Ridley. And belonging in this case, to be very specific, is belonging with a group of friends that are going to be like-minded kids who you're going to find a way to connect with. And that's something that Sophia has found.
Thank you. That is such a beautiful answer, and I think describes it so well. Certainly, you are the child's parents, and that is very much respected, and you join our community, as do the children. We're there to form a partnership. I think that's, the verbiage we use often in, helping raise these young people. And so I think, thank you for pointing that out. I think it is, I think it's extremely accurate. We really do look to try to provide that partnership for our parents, our child, in the safety net, I think, of what the school is. So very important piece. I have one final question, and I'm gonna pose it to Laura, just to talk a little bit about the curriculum offerings that happen here. So we do have 3 divisions here at Ridley, but maybe Laura, I can hand it over to you, and then I think we have a few minutes. We can maybe see what parents have put into the chat and hope to get that answered. So what curriculum offerings at Ridley would you describe that are available to our parents, to the children, just as far as how they transition through? Do you want to just chat a little bit about the options that we have here?
Yeah, of course. And just to tag along a little bit with what Agustin said, we relocated to the region really for the school. We used to live in Montreal. My husband and I were looking for a school for our children to develop and grow into children that are independent, that belong, that find their place in the world, and give them that independent type of learning, for them to truly take on their learning in their own hands and inquire and be inquisitive and collaborate and apply it to the real world. And so for us, one of the biggest selling points that tipped for us to move here and change our lives for our kids to attend Ridley was the curriculum. And although we maintain all of the Ontario curriculum framework, base, we do have an IB curriculum framework from early years, from lower school to upper school. And no, you do not need at any stage when you come to Ridley to have any prior experience on International Baccalaureate curriculum, but that was a big feature for us. And I've seen our kids just grow tremendously. They arrive, my son was in kindergarten, my daughter was in grade 1 when they arrived, or grade 2 when they arrived, and now they're in grade 4 and 2. And so in the lower school years, which we call primary years program, PYP, the curriculum is really organized into transdisciplinary themes. They have a homeroom teacher, of course, but they also have specialty teachers, and they dive into arts and music and French as a second language, as well as physical literacy, which is our physical education. And they truly develop these programs through units of inquiries, which I like to always just refer back to an example of that just speaks to how that plays in the classrooms. Last year, my daughter was in grade 3, and they had an art project where they had to design and develop a donut. And although it was part of just that designing and just envisioning, they also had to put it in action and develop a plan. They had to make a presentation for the grade 6 students and sort of defend their donut. The teacher then chose the winner. They sent this donut to be made at one of our local bakeries, and all of the kids got to enjoy it. But truly, what presented in one arts class was just the ability to teach to these children to present, to gain that confidence to present to older students, to develop a project, to work as a group and individually. And it just goes across all of their disciplines, right? Right now in French class, they're learning all about music, the history of music, the different instruments, the genres, right? And it just speaks to how they are taught to, or we're moving away from that traditionally, classroom setups where it was just memorize and sit in your cubicle, on your tables, like just facing forward and memorizing facts. Is moving away that learning approach and just developing this new skills of building relationships with their peers, and gain that confidence on their own. Our classrooms are set up for that collaboration work as well. They have round tables rather than the facing forward type tables and settings. And it goes beyond that also in middle school. And the classrooms are made for specific. So for instance, math, it'll be more collaborative, or so they're all kind of targeted to the specific class. And beyond the academics, of course, they're exposed to new skills through clubs. In the lower school, we try to expose them to as many new skills as possible. So they have astronomy clubs, knitting, origami, robotics, all kinds of sports, just so that we really give them the opportunity to see what they like. So when it comes to middle school, they can maybe choose their sport or their art or music or where their skill lies, and we really connect that all the way to upper school. And when it comes to the curriculum and the program in the upper school, they have the flexibility to choose to graduate with the Ontario Secondary School Diploma, or they can choose our complete international baccalaureate program. But they could also choose a hybrid model in which students can graduate with the OSSD program, and if they take high-level IB courses, those can be credited for university. So it really gives them the ability, as Agustin was saying, to choose for themselves their path, and we hand them like the keys to and the tools, and what they do with it, really, it's up to them. So I hope I answer a little bit from lower school, but also as an admissions officer all the way to upper school, and as an advisor as well, what I see on children path.
Thank you, Laura. It's great. Yeah, I think absolutely the IB curriculum, we are a continuum school here, but there are options for students. So again, can be quite bespoke for each child and what their needs are as they continue through the school. I'm mindful of our time, but also I've just checked in our chat, and I think that all the questions, if there were any posted, I'm not sure that I even see posted, which would speak to, I think you've done a great job as parents in talking about your children's experience, and also what Ridley can offer. I want to certainly thank those families that are on the call today who are new enrolled families for this coming September 2024. We're really excited to have you here. Please know there will be future town halls for you with administration here, and those are set up on a regular basis, and we send out communications around that as well. For any prospective parents that have been on that call today, I hope that it's helped guide you from a different lens. I think it's great when you work with admissions, but having various voices affirm, why you might consider our school, I think is also a very important point to cover, and I hope we've done that for you today. So I want to express my sincere thanks to Augustine, to Laura, to Jennifer, and to Karen. It is just an honor having you here as parents. We're so grateful for your time and your words today, and we wish you all a wonderful day. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank
Take
you.
care.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.